My father slapped me in front of 86 wedding guests. Then he looked at my husband and said, "You don't understand what you've married into." I thought my father had simply lost control. I was wrong. That night, I discovered forged documents carrying my name, a hidden inheritance, a mother who had been keeping a dangerous secret, and a man everyone believed was dead. But the biggest shock came when I found a payment from the very man threatening my family to my husband's company. Suddenly, I couldn't tell who was protecting me and who was using me. If you were in my position, would you trust your husband or your own family? Tell me in the comments, and subscribe if you want to hear what happened next. My father slapped me 6 minutes after I became his daughter-in-law's?
No.
That sentence still sounds wrong, even in my own memory. He slapped me 6 minutes after I became a wife. My name is Noelle Fujimoto. I was 31 that day, standing beneath the iron arches of Bellwether Conservatory in Portland, Oregon, wearing an ivory dress my mother had helped me choose 3 months earlier. My husband, Evander Vale, was still holding my hand. My father, Daigo Fujimoto, was standing 3 steps away, and 86 wedding guests were watching him. Before that moment, my life looked uncomplicated. My father owned a historic building restoration company. He was strict about money, punctuality, and contracts, but he had always been dependable. My mother, Maria, was quieter and usually the person who could calm him down. My younger brother, Kellen, had flown home from Singapore for the wedding and had spent the morning complaining that his suit was too warm. Evander was different from all of us. He ran a risk audit company in Seattle and had a habit of noticing things other people ignored. We met at a museum fundraiser almost 2 years earlier. I was explaining why a damaged 19th century theater should be restored instead of replaced. He listened. Then he said, "You're arguing with the demolition plan." "I am." "You've been arguing for 20 minutes. I could go for another hour." "I believe you." That was how our relationship started. On our wedding morning, he had kissed my forehead and said, "Whatever happens today, stay with me." I laughed. That's ominous. I didn't mean it that way. I didn't know then how important those words would become. The ceremony itself was beautiful. At 4:12 p.m., we exchanged rings. At 4:14, the officiant pronounced us married. At 4:15, everyone applauded. At 4:16, my father walked toward us. At first, I thought he wanted a photograph. He didn't. "Noelle," he said. His face looked strange.
Pale. Tight.
I smiled.
Dad.
He looked at Evander. Then back at me. "You lied to me." I frowned. "What are you talking about?" His hand moved before I could understand what was happening. The slap landed hard against my left cheek. My bouquet fell. The orchestra stopped. Someone near the front gasped. For several seconds, I could hear nothing except the ringing in my ear. My father stared at me.
He looked almost as shocked as I felt.
Then Evander stepped in front of me. He didn't shout. He didn't push my father. He simply said, "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." My father backed away. "You don't understand." "No," Evander said. "I understand exactly what you just did." My mother rushed toward us. "Daigo, what have you done?" My father ignored her.
He pointed at me.
"Ask your husband what he found." Then he turned and walked out.
Just like that.
My wedding reception became a room full of people pretending not to stare. Kellen reached my side. "Are you okay?" I touched my cheek.
No.
He looked toward the door. "I'll get Dad."
No.
My voice came out sharper than I expected. "I want to know what this is about first." Evander took my hand. "Not here." We went through the service corridor behind the conservatory kitchen. 20 minutes earlier, I had been planning to dance with my father. Now I was standing beside a stainless steel refrigerator while my husband looked at me like he was trying to decide how much truth I could handle at once. "Tell me," I said. Evander unlocked his phone. "Your father contacted my office 2 days ago." "Why?" "He believed someone was trying to transfer control of his company." I stared at him. "Someone?" He nodded. "He thought you were involved." I almost laughed. "Me?" I told him I didn't believe that. "But you knew about this before today?" "I knew there was an investigation." You didn't tell me. I wasn't sure what I was looking at. That answer hurt. Evander noticed. I wasn't accusing you, Noel. You were investigating me. I was investigating documents carrying your name. He showed me the first photograph. It was a corporate transfer agreement. My full legal name appeared near the bottom. The signature looked like mine. My stomach tightened. I didn't sign that. I know.
He swiped.
The second document authorized a transfer of several properties owned by Fujimoto Restoration. The third instructed a bank to release nearly $500,000. Again, my name appeared. Again, the signature looked convincing. Where did these come from? Your father. Why would he think I did this? Because someone convinced him. Who? Evander hesitated. Then he showed me a fourth image. It was a photograph from a notary office. A woman sat beside the documents. I knew her immediately. Sable Mercer. Sable had managed my father's business finances for almost a decade. She had helped organize today's wedding payments. That morning, she had hugged me and said I looked beautiful. She witnessed the documents, Evander said. I stared at the photograph. That doesn't make sense. It gets worse. He swiped again. A bank statement appeared. I recognized the account number. My name was on it. I had opened that account when I was 22. My father had helped me set it up because I was studying architecture at the time. I hadn't touched it in years. What happened? Someone attempted to move $480,000 through it yesterday. My throat went dry. Did they succeed?
No.
Who stopped it? My compliance team. I looked at him. So, you knew someone was using my account? Yes. And you still married me?
He stared at me.
I married you because I know you. For the first time since the slap, I felt like I could breathe. Then he said, but your father doesn't. I looked toward the closed corridor door. Why would Sable do this? We don't know. Then find out. I already started. He pulled up another photograph. This one showed Sable entering a bank the previous afternoon. She was carrying a black leather folder. Behind her was a man I didn't recognize. Who's that? That's what we're trying to determine. Before I could ask another question, the door opened. My brother Kellen stepped inside. His expression was serious. Noel, Mom wants you. Where's Dad? Gone. Where? He left through the parking garage. I looked at Evander. Kellen held up his phone. I found something in Dad's car. We followed him outside. The reception was still happening behind us, but the parking area was almost empty. My father's black sedan was gone. Sable's silver SUV was parked 2 spaces away. Kellen opened the rear passenger door. A black leather folder lay on the floor. I didn't open everything, he said. I only saw your name. I picked it up. The first page had my full name. The second showed my father's company. The third was a photograph of me leaving a bank 6 months earlier. The fourth contained a handwritten note. Once the wedding happens, she will have access to everything. I read it twice. What does that mean? Nobody answered. Kellen looked at Evander. You tell her. Evander took the folder. His expression changed when he saw the next page. What? He turned the paper toward me.
It was a property trust.
My name was listed as the beneficiary. But beneath my name was another company. North Star Heritage Holdings.
Who owns this? I asked.
Evander looked at Kellen. Kellen shook his head. I've never heard of it. I turned the page. A signature appeared. Sable Mercer. Then I noticed something else. A second signature. My father's. I felt anger rising. Dad signed this. Apparently, Evander said.
Why?
I don't know.
My phone rang.
It was my father. I answered immediately.
Dad.
His breathing was heavy. Noel, listen carefully. Where are you? Don't come looking for me. What happened? I made a mistake. I glanced at Evander. What kind of mistake? My father was silent for several seconds. Then he said, Sable isn't the person you need to be afraid of. The line went dead. I called back. No answer. A message arrived almost immediately. Come to the old studio alone. I need to tell you what happened 20 years ago. I stared at the screen. Evander read the message over my shoulder. Absolutely not. It's my father. That's exactly why. You said he believed I betrayed him. He does. Then I need to know why. Evander shook his head. We go together.
No.
He specifically said alone. That is not a reason to obey him. I looked at the darkening parking lot. The old studio had been closed for years. My father had used it when he first started his company. I hadn't been there since I was a teenager. Something about the message bothered me. Not the invitation. The wording. What happened 20 years ago. I had never heard my father mention 20 years ago. Not once. As we drove toward the studio, I watched Portland disappear behind us. The wedding dress was still under my coat. My cheek was still burning. And the man who had raised me had just admitted he had been hiding something from me for most of my life. When we reached the old studio, the front door was already open. The lights were on. Evander stopped beside me. Stay behind me. I looked through the doorway. The place was supposed to be empty. Instead, a single desk lamp was glowing inside. Then I heard a voice from the darkness. Noel. It was my father's voice. I stepped forward.
Dad.
There was a pause. Then he said something that made me stop breathing. Did you come alone? Behind me, Evander quietly locked the car. And from somewhere inside the studio, another person whispered, She did. The voice behind me was not my father's. I turned so quickly that my wedding dress caught against the car door. A woman stepped into the light inside the old studio. Sable Mercer. Her hair was wet from the rain, and there was a small cut above her eyebrow. She held a black folder against her chest. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then my father appeared behind her. Close the door, Daigo said. Evander moved in front of me.
No.
My father looked at him. You shouldn't have come. That makes 3 people who have told me that today, I said. I'm starting to think that's exactly why I should be here. Sable gave a nervous laugh. This isn't funny, Noel. I didn't say it was. My father stepped toward us. I asked you to come alone because I didn't know who I could trust. I looked at Sable. And you trusted her? I had no choice. That answer made my stomach tighten. We entered the studio. The place looked almost exactly as I remembered it from childhood. Old drafting tables lined the walls. Rolled blueprints stood in metal tubes. A large clock above the office door had stopped at 8:17. My father locked the door. Sit down. Nobody did. Evander kept his eyes on Sable. Start talking. Sable looked at my father. He nodded. North Star Heritage Holdings was created 6 months ago, she said. By you, I replied. Yes. Why? To protect assets. From what? She looked at my father. From Cash and Mercer. I frowned. Your father? Sable's face went pale. My father died 7 years ago. My father shook his head.
No.
The word landed heavily. Sable stared at him. You told me he was dead. I thought he was. You thought. My father rubbed his forehead. Cashin disappeared after the theater collapse. I received a death certificate 2 years later. Evander stepped closer. Who issued it? I don't remember. You don't remember? I was dealing with bankruptcy. Sable opened the folder. He wasn't dead. She pushed a photograph toward me. An older man stood outside a courthouse. I didn't recognize him. My father did. He sat down. That can't be him. Sable pointed to the date. 6 months ago. I looked at the photograph again. Why would he come back now? Because of you. My chest tightened. What does that mean? Sable placed another document on the table. This is a trust agreement. I recognized my name. It listed several properties owned by my father and another property I had never heard of. Why am I the beneficiary? My father closed his eyes. Sable answered, because your biological father created the trust. I stared at her. My biological father? Nobody moved. Then my father whispered, Noel, there is something I should have told you. My entire body went cold. What?
He looked at me.
You were not born into this family. I laughed once because I thought he was joking. He wasn't. My mother had never mentioned adoption. Neither had my father. I looked at Evander. He looked just as stunned. You knew?
No.
I turned back to my father. Who are my biological parents? He swallowed. Your mother was my sister. I couldn't process it. My aunt. She died when you were an infant. And my father? My father looked toward the photograph. Ronan Vey. The name meant nothing to me, but it meant something to Evander. He stared at Daigo. Ronan Vey. My father nodded. Evander's expression hardened. He was your partner. Yes. And you told everyone he died. I believed he did. Sable interrupted.
He didn't.
The room went quiet. I looked at her. Where is he? We don't know. My father stood. Then why are you telling me this? Because Cashin wants the trust. Why? Because Ronan put the properties into it for his child. I looked down at the document. My name suddenly looked unfamiliar. Sable continued. The trust activates when you marry. My breath caught. That was today. Yes. And someone tried to move money from my account yesterday. Yes. Why? Because once the trust activated, you became the legal owner of the properties. Evander took the document. This clause is unusual. Sable nodded. An independent auditor has to verify the transfer. Evander looked at me. That would be my firm. I stared at him. You knew this trust existed?
No.
Then why were you investigating my father? Because someone hired my firm to investigate irregular transfers involving these properties. Who hired you? Evander looked at Sable. She looked away. My father said, I did. I stared at him. You hired my husband to investigate me?
No.
I hired him to investigate the company. But he found my name. Yes. And instead of telling me, both of you kept secrets. Neither answered. I stepped back. I am done being the only person in this room who doesn't know what is happening. Sable looked at me. There is more. I almost laughed. Of course there is. She opened the folder again. This is why your father slapped you. She placed a printed email on the table. It appeared to be from me. Dad, I know about the trust. Evander, and I will handle it after the wedding. My hands shook. I never wrote this. I know. Then why did Dad believe it? Because it came from your email account. Evander took the page. That's not enough. There were 14 messages. Show me. She handed him a second folder. He read quickly, then stopped.
What?
He looked at me. One of these messages was sent from your account while you were with me. When? Last Tuesday. At 11:42 p.m. I remembered that night. Evander and I had been at our apartment. I had been asleep. My phone had been charging beside the bed. You were asleep? He asked. Yes. He checked the metadata. This wasn't sent from your phone. Then how? Someone accessed the account remotely. My father looked at Sable. You said you knew who did it. I know how. She reached into her bag and placed a USB drive on the table. This contains the access logs. Evander connected it to his laptop. A list appeared.
Dates. Times.
IP addresses. Most were from Portland. Then one appeared from Seattle. Then another. Then a third. Evander stared at the screen. That's my office. I looked at him.
What?
He clicked the address. The login had been made from a workstation assigned to his former business partner. Tavian Rook, he said. Sable nodded. He has been helping Cashin. My father stood abruptly. Why? Because Cashin promised him a share of the properties. Evander's jaw tightened. Tavian left my firm 3 years ago. And he's been stealing client data ever since. I looked at the screen. So Tavian forged my emails. Probably. Then why did my father believe I was involved? Sable hesitated. Because he saw you sign. I frowned.
What?
6 months ago. She opened another file. A photograph showed me sitting at a bank. A woman beside me held a document. I recognized the clothes. I was opening a savings account, not according to the paperwork. She turned the photograph around. There was a signature.
Mine.
I stared at it. Then I noticed the date was wrong. That isn't my signature. My father looked at it. It looks exactly like yours.
No.
Evander took the document. He examined the ink, then the paper. His face changed.
What?
This document was printed after the date shown on it. Sable nodded. That is what I wanted you to see. My father looked confused.
Why?
Because there is one person who can prove who forged it.
Who? Sable looked at me.
Your mother. My stomach dropped. My mother? She witnessed the original signing. I shook my head. She wasn't there. Sable's voice became quieter. She was. The studio fell silent. Then my father's phone rang. He looked at the screen. My mother's name. He answered. Mireya? Her voice came through the speaker. Daigo, don't tell Noelle anything. My father froze. I stared at the phone. Mom, there was silence. Then she whispered, because if she finds out who her real father is, Cashin won't be the only person she has to fear. The call ended. I looked at Evander, then at my father. And for the first time that night, I understood something terrifying. My wedding had not activated a simple financial scheme. It had activated a secret my entire family had spent 31 years hiding from me. And now someone was afraid I was finally going to uncover it. My mother's warning changed the room. For several seconds after the call ended, nobody moved. I looked at my father. Who is Cashin? He stared at the phone in his hand. Then I asked the question that had been waiting in my throat since Sable said Ronan Vey was my biological father. Who is my real father? Daigo finally looked at me. Ronan. You already said that. I know. Then why does Mom sound terrified? He didn't answer. I stepped closer. Dad. He flinched at the word. That hurt more than I expected. I have called you Dad my entire life, I said. You don't get to look away from me now. My father sat down. Sable remained near the door. Evander closed the laptop. We need to leave, he said. I turned toward him.
No.
Noelle.
No.
Every time someone says I need to leave, another piece of my life disappears. He looked at me for a moment. Then he nodded.
Fine.
We stay. My father took a slow breath. Ronan was my best friend. You were business partners. We were more than that. What happened? 20 years ago, we were restoring the Alderwick Theatre. Sable lowered her eyes. My father continued. The project was too expensive. We needed outside financing. Cashin offered it. And you accepted. Yes. What did he want? Control. I frowned. Control of what? The properties. My father explained that Cashin had demanded ownership rights over several buildings if the project failed. Ronan refused to sign the final agreement. Then the theater partially collapsed. Nobody died, but the company was nearly destroyed. Cashin blamed Ronan, my father said. Did Ronan cause the collapse?
No.
Then who did? My father looked at Sable. She answered. We don't know. I folded my arms. You're both hiding something? My father closed his eyes. The night before the collapse, Ronan told me he had proof Cashin had sabotaged the project. Where was the proof? Ronan said he put it somewhere safe. Where? We never found it. And then, Ronan disappeared. I stared at him. You told everyone he died. I received evidence. A death certificate? A photograph. His car had been found near the river. But no body.
No.
I shook my head. So you assumed he was dead? I had no choice. That isn't an answer. My father's face tightened. I was raising you. I stopped. What? You were 9 months old. He looked down. Your mother was my sister. She died shortly after you were born. Ronan had been trying to protect you from Cashin. Why? Because Cashin knew about the trust. I looked at the document again. So Ronan created the trust for me. Yes. And Cashin has been trying to take it. Yes. Then why did Cashin wait 30 years? Sable answered. Because he needed you to become an adult. That doesn't explain the wedding. The trust had a condition. She pointed to the document. Marriage. I looked at Evander. So someone needed me married before they could move the assets. Yes. Then why me? Because you're the beneficiary. That still doesn't explain why they targeted my father. Sable's expression hardened. Because your father was the only person who could challenge the trust. I looked at Daigo. You knew. He nodded. For years. And you never told me. I wanted you to have a normal life. I laughed bitterly. You slapped me at my wedding. I know. That wasn't normal. He looked ashamed. No. My phone buzzed. A message appeared from an unknown number. Ask your father what happened to the missing ledger. I showed Evander. He immediately stood. That's not from Sable. She shook her head.
No.
Then, who has been watching us? Nobody answered. We left the studio 20 minutes later. The rain had stopped. Portland was quiet. We drove to my mother's house in the West Hills. She had refused to meet us at the studio, but when we arrived, the front door was already open. Evander stopped me. Wait. He walked inside first. After a minute, he called us in. The house was empty. My mother's purse sat on the kitchen counter. Her car was in the garage. Her phone was on the dining table. But she was gone. I ran upstairs. Her bedroom looked untouched. Then I saw the closet. One section had been emptied. Suitcases were missing. My mother had left, without telling anyone. On the bed was a handwritten note. I opened it. Noelle, if you're reading this, I failed to protect you. Don't trust the person who claims to have found Ronan. I read it again. Found Ronan. I looked at Evander. What does that mean? He took the note. The wording is deliberate. Sable entered behind us. I think I know. She opened her bag. Inside was another photograph. A man stood beside a black SUV. He was older than the man in the previous picture. His hair was gray. His face was turned toward the camera. I stared. Something about him felt familiar. Not from memory. From photographs. I looked at my father. He went completely still. That's Ronan. My heart stopped. Where was this taken? Seattle, Sable said. When? 3 days ago. I took the photograph. Is he alive? Yes. My father sat heavily on the bed. Then why didn't he come to me? Sable didn't answer. Evander examined the photograph. Because this is not a meeting. What do you mean? Look at the background. I zoomed in. Ronan was standing outside a storage facility. A sign behind him read, Vey Archives. I looked at Sable. What is that? An old storage facility Ronan used. My father stood immediately. He kept the ledger there. What ledger? The one you just asked about. We left within minutes. The facility was 40 minutes from my mother's house. On the way, I asked my father the question I had avoided. Why did Mom say Cashin wasn't the only person I should fear? He didn't answer. Dad. He looked out the window. Because your mother once made a deal with him. What deal? To keep you alive. My hands went cold. What did she give him? My location. I stared at him. That doesn't make sense. She thought he wanted me. But he wanted me. Yes. The car became silent. Evander glanced at my father through the rear-view mirror. What happened after she gave him your location? He came to the house. When? 6 years ago. I felt my stomach drop. I was there. My father nodded. You were asleep. And you never told me? I couldn't. What happened? He left a message. What message? My father looked at me. He said Ronan was alive. I stared at him. 6 years. 6 years my father had known there was a possibility that my biological father was alive. And he had said nothing. We reached the storage facility just before midnight. The gate was open. There were no security guards. Evander parked outside. My father walked toward the entrance. Sable stopped him. Wait. She pointed to the ground. A fresh tire mark crossed the wet pavement. Someone had arrived recently. We entered. The building was dark except for one fluorescent light near the back. Rows of storage units stretched into the distance. My father knew exactly where to go. Unit 317. The lock had been cut. He opened the door. Inside were boxes of documents, old photographs, architectural drawings, and several metal cases. I stepped forward. Dad. He looked at me. What? Why did you know exactly where this was? He didn't answer. Evander opened one of the cases. Inside was a ledger. The cover was stained and worn. He opened it. Names filled the pages. Payments. Property transfers.
Dates.
Then I saw one name repeated over and over. Cashin Mercer. Beside it were amounts of money. Millions. My father stared at the pages. I didn't know. Evander looked at him. You should have. I turned another page. There was a second name. Daigo Fujimoto. I looked at my father. You took his money. Noel, listen. You took money from Cashin? Not for myself. Then why? To save the company. You lied to me. I was trying to keep you safe. I slammed the ledger shut. Everyone keeps saying that. Then I noticed something tucked inside the back cover. A small envelope. My name was written on it. Not my married name. My full birth name. Noel Vey. My hands shook. I opened it. Inside was a single letter. The handwriting was unfamiliar. I read the first line. Noel, if you are reading this, your father has failed to tell you the truth again. I looked at Daigo. He stepped backward. The letter continued. I am Ronan Vey. I am alive. I have watched you from a distance for years. I stayed away because Cashin was not the only person trying to use you. My breath caught. There was more. Your wedding was never supposed to happen this way. Someone changed the terms of the trust. Someone inside your family altered the original agreement. I looked at my father.
Who?
He shook his head. I don't know. Then I reached the final line. And Noel, whatever you do not trust Evander Vale. I slowly lowered the letter. Evander was standing only a few feet away.
He looked at me.
What does it say? I couldn't answer. Because beneath Ronan's warning was a second sheet of paper. It contained a payment record. The recipient was Evander's company. The date was 6 weeks before our engagement. And the sender was Cashin Mercer. For the first time since I met Evander, I didn't know what to believe when I looked at him. The ledger was still open between us. The payment record sat on top. Cashin Mercer, $75,000. Vale Risk Advisory. 6 weeks before my engagement. 6 weeks before Evander had asked me to marry him. I looked at him. Explain it. He didn't answer immediately. That silence was enough to make my hands go cold. My father stepped forward. You see? I turned on him. Don't.
He stopped.
I don't need another person telling me what to think. Evander looked at the payment record. Then he looked at me. I was paid. My stomach dropped. For what? To investigate Cashin. I laughed once. Cashin paid you to investigate himself?
No.
Then who? Evander took a breath. Someone using his account. That isn't an answer. It was a payment routed through an intermediary. Your company received $75,000. Yes. And you never told me. I didn't know it was connected to you. I stared at him. You knew my name was involved. Not then. Then when did you know? 3 weeks before the wedding. I felt something inside me break. You knew for 3 weeks. Yes. And you still married me. Yes. My father moved toward us. Evander is involved. I turned toward him. You don't get to speak for me. Evander didn't defend himself. That almost made it worse. I pointed at the ledger. Why did Cashin pay you? Because he wanted information. About me? At first, about the trust. And then,
About you.
what did you find? Evander's voice became quieter. That you didn't know anything. I stared at him. Then why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't know who else was watching. You could have told me. I should have. The words were simple. No excuse. No argument. Just an admission. But I wasn't ready to forgive him. Sable stepped forward. There's something else. I looked at her. Of course there is. She pointed to the ledger. Cashin didn't make that payment. Evander frowned. What? Sable turned several pages. The account was controlled by a company called Meridian Civic Trust. Evander checked the payment record. That's not Cashin's company.
No. Who owns it?
Sable looked at my father. He didn't respond. I looked at him.
Dad.
He rubbed his face. I don't know. Sable took another document from the metal case. I think you do. She placed it on the table. The company registration listed 2 directors. One was Cashin Mercer. The other was Daigo Fujimoto. I stared at my father. You were a director? Years ago. You said you didn't know Meridian. I forgot. You forgot. He looked ashamed. It was a temporary company. For what? To receive financing. From Cashin? Yes. I shook my head. You've spent the entire night telling me you were protecting me. I was. You were also hiding money. I was trying to keep the business alive. And you put my inheritance at risk. I didn't know about the trust at the time. Sable interrupted. You did. My father looked at her. She continued. Ronan told you. Silence. I turned toward my father. Is that true? He closed his eyes. Yes. The word barely came out. When? Before the theater collapse. Then you knew the properties belonged to me. I knew Ronan wanted them protected. That isn't what I asked. He looked at me. Yes. I stepped away from him. My father had spent my entire life telling me that the family company was built through hard work. Now I was discovering that part of it had been financed by a man who wanted control over my future. Then I remembered the letter. Ronan had written that someone inside my family changed the original trust. I opened the envelope again. There was a handwritten page beneath the typed letter. The original trustee was Mireya Fujimoto. My mother's name. I looked at my father. Mom was the trustee. He nodded. She was. Why did she stop? She resigned. Why? He didn't answer. Sable did. Because she discovered the trust had been altered. My heart began pounding. By whom? Sable looked at the ledger. That's what we're trying to find out. A sound came from the hallway. Everyone froze. Footsteps.
Slow.
Then the metal door at the end of the storage corridor opened. A man walked inside. He was tall, gray-haired, and wearing a dark coat. I recognized him immediately from the photograph. Ronan Vey, my biological father.
He stopped when he saw me.
For several seconds, neither of us moved. His eyes filled with tears. Noel. I couldn't speak. He took one step forward. My father moved between us. Ronan stopped. Daigo. My father stared at him. You're alive. I am. You let me believe you were dead. I had to. You let me raise your daughter, without knowing. Ronan's expression changed. You think I wanted that? My father didn't answer. Ronan looked at me again. I am sorry. I finally found my voice. You watched me? Yes. For how long? Almost 30 years. The answer hurt. You watched me grow up and never came to me? If I had come back, Cashin would have found you. Cashin already found me. I know. You knew about the wedding? Yes. You knew they were targeting me? Yes. Then why didn't you stop it? Ronan looked at Evander. Because I thought he would. Evander's expression hardened. You knew about me? I knew everything. I looked between them. You two know each other? Ronan nodded. Evander found me 4 months ago. I turned toward my husband. You told me you didn't know where Ronan was. I didn't know at first. When did you find him? 4 months ago. That was before our wedding. Before the ceremony. Before my father slapped me. I felt betrayed all over again. I read the sentence 3 times before the words made sense. Your mother didn't make a deal with Cashin to protect you. She made it because she was working for him. I looked at the photograph again. My mother stood beside Cashin outside a restaurant. They weren't arguing. They weren't being threatened. They were smiling. The date was 6 years earlier. 6 years before my wedding. 6 years before I knew anything was wrong. I turned toward my father. Is this true? Daigo stared at the photograph.
No.
Sable stepped closer. That's my father. I know. You said he was dead. He was supposed to be. Ronan took the photograph from me. His expression changed. I know this restaurant. Where? Vancouver. Evander immediately pulled out his phone. I can find the address. I looked at him. You're not going to ask why my mother was there? I think we already know she was meeting Cashin. That isn't what I asked. He met my eyes.
No. We don't know why.
The storage facility felt colder than it had 5 minutes earlier. The original trust was gone. The hospital document was gone. Someone had entered the building, taken exactly those 2 pieces of evidence, and left the photograph for me to find. That meant whoever had done it wanted me to know about my mother. But they didn't want me to know everything. Ronan looked at my father. Where is Mireya now? We don't know. She left her phone. And her car. Ronan's expression hardened. Then she didn't leave voluntarily. My heart dropped. You think someone took her? I think someone wanted us to believe she disappeared. Evander looked toward the entrance. The security cameras.
There aren't any, my father said.
Ronan shook his head. There are. He pointed toward the ceiling. A small black camera sat above the emergency exit.
My father stared at it.
I didn't know that was there. Evander smiled without humor. That's because it isn't yours. He climbed onto a metal shelf and removed the camera. Inside was a memory card. We took it back to Evander's office in Seattle. It was nearly 2 in the morning by the time we arrived. The office was empty except for emergency lights and the hum of the servers. Evander connected the card to his computer. The footage began. At first, nothing happened. Then the screen showed my mother entering the storage facility 6 hours earlier. She carried a brown envelope. She was alone. She walked directly to Unit 317. Then she stopped. Someone stepped into frame. Cashin. My mother didn't run. She handed him the envelope. I stared at the screen. What is that? Ronan leaned closer. Stop. Evander paused the footage. Ronan pointed at the envelope. That's the original trust. I looked at him. How do you know? Because I wrote it. The footage continued. Cashin took the envelope. My mother said something. There was no audio. Then Cashin gave her another envelope. My mother opened it. Her face changed. She began crying. Then she slapped Cashin. The footage ended. I stared at the frozen screen. She wasn't working for him. Ronan shook his head.
No.
Then why meet him? To bargain? For what?
Ronan looked at me.
For you. I didn't want to hear that answer. But I needed it. He explained that 6 years earlier, Cashin had discovered Ronan was still alive. He had also discovered that I had no idea who my biological father was. Cashin threatened to expose me to criminals who were trying to recover the old theater debt. My mother panicked. She agreed to give Cashin the original trust document in exchange for proof that he would leave me alone. She gave him the trust? Yes. Then how did he get the altered version? He altered it. I looked at the footage again. Why would Mom slap him? Because he lied.
How?
Ronan looked at the screen. He probably showed her something. Evander checked the second envelope. There was a document inside. What? I'm still trying to recover the deleted frame. He worked for several minutes. Then the image appeared. The document was a medical record. My name was at the top. I stared at it. What is that? Evander enlarged the image. My blood ran cold. It was a medical record from when I was 9 months old. The diagnosis section contained a note. Possible toxic exposure. My father looked at Ronan. What does that mean? Ronan's face had gone white. My brother suspected someone tried to poison Noelle. I couldn't speak. Who? We never proved it. My mother had not simply been hiding my identity. She had been hiding a possible attempt on my life. Then another line appeared on the document. Responsible party unknown. I stepped away from the screen. Why didn't anyone tell me? My father answered quietly. Because we didn't know if it was deliberate. That isn't good enough. I know. Evander reached for my hand. I pulled away. Not because I hated him. Because I needed space from everyone. I walked into the hallway. For the first time that night, I was alone. Then my phone rang. My mother's number. I answered immediately. Mom, why didn't you tell me? Ronan asked me not to. I looked at Ronan. Why? Because we needed to identify who inside your family was changing the trust. I stared at him. You suspected my family? Yes.
Who?
Ronan's face became serious. I don't know yet. My father laughed bitterly. You always suspected me. I suspected everyone. Ronan looked at the ledger. That is why I stayed away. Then he walked toward the table. He opened a metal case and removed a second ledger. This is the original. Evander took it. The first pages contained the trust agreement. I leaned over his shoulder. The original beneficiary was me. The original trustee was my mother. The original properties were listed clearly. Then I saw the final clause. It was different from the version Sable had shown us. My wedding was not required. Marriage had nothing to do with activating the trust. I looked at Sable. You lied. She shook her head. I was given the altered copy. By whom? She pointed at the original ledger. That's what we need to find out. Evander compared the documents. The alteration was made 3 years ago. Ronan nodded. Exactly. I looked at the date. 3 years ago. That was when I had met Evander. My stomach tightened. Wait. Everyone looked at me. 3 years ago, I met Sable for the first time. Sable frowned. No. Yes. You had worked with my father for years. I did. But I remember seeing you before that. Sable went pale. Where? At the museum. She shook her head. I never worked at the museum. You were there. Noelle, Evander said carefully. Are you sure? Yes. I remembered it clearly. A charity exhibition. A woman standing beside the old theater model. She had introduced herself as a preservation consultant. I had thought nothing of it. Until now. I looked at Sable. That woman wasn't you.
No.
Who was she? Sable's face changed. I don't know. Ronan suddenly looked alarmed. Describe her. Dark hair. Green coat. Small scar near her chin. My father stood. I know her. Everyone turned. Who? My father swallowed. Cashin's daughter. Sable stared at him. I am Cashin's daughter.
No.
My father shook his head. You're not. The room became silent. Sable's face lost all color. What did you say? I knew Cashin's family before the theater collapse. He looked at her. You were never his biological daughter. Sable stepped backward. That is impossible. My father pointed toward the original ledger. There is a birth record attached to the trust. Ronan opened another compartment. Inside was an old hospital document. The name of the child was not Sable Mercer. It was another name. I looked at Sable. Then who are you? She stared at the document. Her hands began to shake. Ronan spoke quietly. Cashin raised you because your father was the one person he could use against Ronan. Sable looked at him. My father? Ronan nodded. Your biological father was my brother. Nobody spoke. Then Sable began to cry. But before she could say anything, the lights inside the storage facility went out. A loud crash came from the entrance. Evander grabbed my hand. Stay close. We heard the front gate slam. Then tires screeched outside. Ronan ran toward the corridor. My father followed. A car sped away. When the emergency lights came on, the original ledger was gone. So was the hospital document. Sable stood beside the empty table, shaking. I looked at Evander. Who took it? He didn't answer. Instead, he pointed toward the floor. A single envelope remained beneath the table. My name was written on it. I opened it. Inside was a photograph of my mother. She was standing beside Cashin. The date on the back was from 6 years ago. And beneath the photograph, someone had written, Your mother didn't make a deal with Cashin to protect you. I turned the photograph over. There was another sentence. She made it because she was working for him. The note gave me one choice. Come alone or my mother dies. For the first time that night, I wasn't afraid of what might happen to me. I was afraid that someone had finally found the one person I could not lose. I looked at Evander. You're not coming. He immediately shook his head.
No.
Evander. I said no. The detective stepped between us. You can't go alone. I held up the note. They specifically want me alone. That doesn't mean you have to obey. Ronan was staring at the photograph of Alara. His face had become unreadable. I turned to him. Is she really your daughter? I don't know. You've been hiding for 30 years. Start being honest now. He swallowed. Yes. The answer stunned all of us. You knew. I suspected. Then why did you tell me you had no daughter? Because I thought she died. Sable closed her eyes. She didn't. Ronan looked at her. How do you know? Because Cashin raised her. That explained the woman at the museum. The green coat, the scar, the forged documents, the surveillance. But it didn't explain why she wanted my mother. I looked at Sable. What does Alara want? Sable answered quietly. The same thing everyone else wanted. My inheritance.
No.
She looked directly at me. She wants Ronan to choose her. The word struck harder than I expected. Ronan looked devastated. Alara believes I abandoned her. Did you?
No.
Then tell her. I will. After Mom is safe. He nodded. Evander stepped closer. I have an idea. I looked at him. You said not to come. I won't. He took out his phone. But I can still protect you. He explained that the old Alderwick Theater had been closed for years, but was surrounded by buildings with public security cameras. The police could monitor the area without entering. I'll stay outside the perimeter. I shook my head. You said you wouldn't come. I won't enter. You promise? Yes. The detective agreed to coordinate the surveillance. Ronan insisted on coming. I refused. This is between Alara and you. He looked hurt. I am your father. You've had 30 years to be one. He lowered his eyes. I know. I need you to stay alive long enough to explain everything. He nodded. That was the first time he accepted a boundary from me. By 6 that evening, I was standing outside the abandoned theater. The building looked exactly like the photographs from my father's old files. Broken windows, boarded doors, faded signs. Rain began falling again. I entered alone. The lobby was dark. Mom, no answer. I walked deeper into the building. Then I heard a voice. Stop. Alara stepped from behind a column. She was younger than I expected. Maybe 33. Dark hair, green coat, the scar near her chin. She held a gun. I stopped. Where is my mother? She is alive. Where? Upstairs. Take me to her. Alara shook her head. First I need to know whether Ronan came. He didn't. Her expression changed. You're lying.
No.
He would come for you. He wanted to. Then why didn't he? I looked at her. Because I told him not to. Alara stared at me. You don't know anything about him. I know enough to understand why you're angry. You know nothing. I know he thought you were dead. Her hand tightened around the gun. That's what he told you? Yes. It's a lie. Then tell me the truth. For several seconds, she said nothing. Then she lowered the weapon slightly. Cashin found me when I was 4. I listened. He told me my father abandoned me. He said Ronan chose you. Why? Because you were the child he wanted to protect. My chest tightened. That wasn't true. I know that now. She looked toward the stairs. Your mother told me. I froze. She knows you. She found me 6 years ago. That explained the photograph. My mother had not been working for Cashin. She had been looking for Alara. She came to you? Yes. What did she say? That Ronan never abandoned me. I swallowed. Then why did she disappear? Because Cashin found out. Alara lowered the gun. He threatened to kill her if she told Ronan where I was. So she stayed quiet. Yes. And 6 years ago, she gave him the trust? Alara nodded. She thought it would buy time. I finally understood. My mother had not betrayed me. She had been trying to protect both of us. Then Alara said something unexpected. Cashin lied to me too. I frowned. He told me you were the problem. What changed? I found his financial records. She took a small drive from her pocket. Cashin wasn't trying to steal your inheritance. I stared at her. Then what was he trying to do? Use it to erase his debt. To whom? Everyone. She explained that Cashin had borrowed money from several criminal investors over the years. The historic properties were worth far more than his debts. But because the original trust protected them, he couldn't sell them. So he created the altered trust. He needed me married. He needed my signature. He needed my father discredited. and he needed Evander's firm to appear compromised. My eyes widened. He paid Evander to investigate me. Yes. But Evander stopped. Cashin didn't know that. So the payment record was meant to make me distrust him. Alara nodded. That was the plan. Then she handed me the drive. There's something else. I took it. What? The person who changed the trust. I looked at her. You know who it was? Yes. Who? She looked toward the upper floor. Your mother. My heart stopped.
No.
She changed one clause. Why? To prevent Cashin from taking control. I didn't understand. Alara explained that the original trust allowed me to inherit the properties at 31. My mother changed the document so that an independent trustee would control them until I turned 35. Cashin discovered the alteration. He needed to make the forged version appear legitimate. The marriage story was fabricated to make everyone believe the wedding triggered the transfer. But why did my mother hide it? Because she knew Cashin had people inside the banks. I closed my eyes. All the pieces finally connected. My father hadn't been trying to steal my inheritance. He had been trying to keep his company alive. My mother hadn't betrayed me. She had been trying to keep Cashin away. Sable hadn't created the entire scheme. She had been manipulated by the man she believed was her father.
Evander had investigated me.
Then he had chosen me over the person who paid him. And Alara had spent years believing Ronan had abandoned her. Nobody had been innocent. No response. Mom, where are you? A man's voice answered. You've been looking for me. I froze. Cashin, where is my mother? She is alive. Put her on. Not yet. What do you want? I want the ledger. You already took it. The original trust. You have it. I want the complete version. I looked through the glass wall at Evander. He was watching me. Where are you? Come alone.
No.
Cashin laughed. Your father made the same mistake. What mistake? Believing he could protect you by lying. My grip tightened around the phone. If you hurt my mother. I won't. Why should I believe you? Because if I wanted her dead, you would not be speaking to me. He ended the call. I stood frozen. Evander came toward me. What did he say? He has Mom. Ronan immediately stood. We call the police. Cashin's voice came through my phone again before I could answer. One message. Bring Noelle. Not Evander. Then another. And tell her the truth about her marriage. I looked at Evander. What does he mean? He didn't answer. Ronan did. Cashin knows something about the trust.
No.
Ronan shook his head. That message was about Evander. My heart sank. We returned to the conference room. I put the phone on the table. Tell me everything. Evander sat down. I met Cashin before I met you. I already knew that. You said he hired your company. He did. And you found Ronan. Yes. Then why did you approach me? I was assigned to determine whether you knew about the trust. By Cashin? Initially. And when you realized I didn't? I stayed. Why? He looked at me. Because I fell in love with you. I wanted to believe him, but I couldn't. Did you ever use me to get information?
No.
Did you ever access my accounts?
No.
Did you ever report to Cashin after we started dating?
No.
Ronan interrupted. He's telling the truth. I looked at him. How do you know? Because I was the one who told Evander to stop reporting. I stared at both men. You were working together. Yes. For how long? 4 months before your engagement. My stomach tightened. Then my entire relationship was built around an investigation. Evander shook his head. The investigation ended. When? The day I proposed. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was afraid you would think every moment between us was a lie. And now? Now I know keeping it from you is worse. I looked away. There was no easy answer. Then Ronan's phone rang. He answered.
His face changed.
What? He listened. Then hung up. What happened? The police found your mother's car. Where? Near the Vancouver border. Is she there?
No.
Then where is she? Ronan looked at me. They found blood in the back seat. My knees nearly gave way. Evander caught my arm. I pulled myself upright.
No.
Ronan was already calling someone. We need to go. We drove north before sunrise. By 7, we reached the location. Police had secured the vehicle. There was no sign of my mother. A detective showed us the evidence. One broken bracelet, a blood-stained scarf, and a piece of paper found beneath the driver's seat. I recognized the handwriting immediately. My mother's. Noelle, don't trust the story they're telling you. My heart sank. Then I noticed another line underneath. The person who changed your trust is not Cashin. Evander read it. Ronan went silent. My father stared at the ground. I looked at each of them. Then who changed it? Nobody answered. The detective placed another item inside an evidence bag. A hotel key card. The hotel was in downtown Vancouver. Registered under a name I knew. Not Cashin. Not Sable. Not Tavian. The reservation belonged to Mireya Fujimoto. But the check-in record showed that someone else had used her identification. The detective looked at me. There's more. He handed me a printed photograph from the hotel's lobby camera. A woman wearing my mother's coat had entered the hotel at 5:43 that morning. Her face was turned toward the camera. I stared at the image. It wasn't my mother. It was the woman I remembered from the museum 3 years earlier. The woman with dark hair, the green coat, the scar near her chin. Sable stared at the photograph. That woman. I looked at her. You know her? Sable nodded slowly. I know exactly who she is. Who? Sable's voice dropped. Her name is Elara Vey. Ronan stepped backward.
No.
Sable looked at him. She is your daughter. The world seemed to stop. I stared at Ronan, then at the photograph, then at Sable. Ronan's face had lost all color. I have no daughter. Sable shook her head. You did. I looked at Evander. He was staring at the photograph. You knew, I whispered. He looked at me. I knew there was someone. My chest tightened. You knew about Elara? Not who she was. You knew there was another person involved. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? He didn't answer. Then the detective's radio crackled. A patrol officer had found a second vehicle. A black SUV. The same vehicle from the photograph of Ronan. Inside was a woman's handbag. My mother's. And beside it was a note. This time, the handwriting was not hers. Bring the girl to the old theater tonight. Beneath it was one final sentence. If she comes with her husband, Mireya dies. But not everyone had been my enemy. I looked at Elara. Where's my mother? She pointed upstairs. Room 204. I ran. The door was locked. Mom. I heard movement. Then her voice. Noelle. I unlocked the door with the key Elara gave me. My mother was sitting on the floor. Her hands were tied, but she was conscious. I dropped beside her. Mom. She started crying. I am so sorry. I untied her. You should have told me. I know. You should have trusted me. I was afraid. So was I. She touched my face. Your father told me what happened at the wedding. I looked away. He thought I betrayed him. He was wrong. I know. She pulled me into a hug. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then a gunshot echoed downstairs. My mother froze. I stood. Elara ran into the room. Cashin. We heard footsteps. Heavy.
Fast.
Elara grabbed my arm. Back exit. We ran through the service corridor. Downstairs, Cashin shouted. You can't run forever. Elara stopped.
She looked at me.
Go.
No.
He wants you. Then we stay together. She looked surprised. I understood something then. For 30 years, everyone had been making decisions for me. My father, my mother, Cashin, even people who loved me. I was done. We reached the rear exit. Evander stood outside. I had told him not to come inside. He hadn't. He was waiting beyond the perimeter with police officers. When he saw my mother, he ran toward us. He stopped before touching me. Are you okay? I nodded. Then another figure emerged from the theater. Ronan. Elara froze. Father and daughter stared at each other. Ronan took one step forward. I never abandoned you. Alara began crying. I know. I looked for you. I know. I thought you were dead. I know. He stopped a few feet away. I am sorry. Alara lowered her head. Then she walked toward him. They embraced. I looked away. Some reunions belong only to the people inside them. Behind us, police entered the theater. Cashin was arrested before he reached the exit. Sable surrendered the remaining evidence. Tavian Rook was arrested the next morning. The financial records from Alara's drive exposed the entire operation. The altered trust was invalidated. My inheritance remained protected by an independent foundation. My father's company was sold, and the proceeds were divided among the employees and creditors. My mother testified against Cashin. Ronan remained in Portland. Not in my house. Not in my life every day. But close enough that I could finally decide what kind of relationship we would have. 6 months later, Cashin was convicted. Sable received a reduced sentence for cooperating. Tavian lost his professional license. Alara became a restoration consultant for the foundation. And my marriage survived. Not because Evander had been perfect. He hadn't. He had kept secrets. I had every right to be angry. But he admitted what he had done without blaming anyone else. We went to counseling. We rebuilt trust slowly. There were no secret investigations anymore. No hidden accounts. No decisions made on my behalf. 1 year after the wedding, we returned to Bellwether Conservatory. My father was there. My mother was there. Kellen had flown in from Singapore. Ronan stood near the entrance with Alara. Nobody pretended the past had disappeared. It hadn't. My father approached me. I owe you another apology. You do. I thought protecting you meant making decisions for you. I smiled faintly. And now I ask. I hugged him, not because everything was forgotten, because forgiveness had become my choice too. Later that evening, Evander found me beneath the same iron arches where my wedding had almost fallen apart. Do you regret marrying me? He asked. I looked at him. Sometimes. He laughed. Fair. But I don't regret choosing you again. He took my hand. Across the room, my family was talking. No one was hiding anything. No one was whispering about documents. No one was deciding my future. For years, I had thought the slap was the worst moment of my life. It wasn't. It was the moment that forced every hidden lie into the open. My father's mistake was believing fear could protect me. Cashin's mistake was believing money gave him ownership over people. My mother's mistake was believing silence was safer than truth. Evander's mistake was believing he could protect our relationship by keeping secrets. And my mistake was believing that trusting people meant never questioning them. The real victory wasn't getting revenge. It was taking back the right to choose. My inheritance became a foundation. My family became complicated, but honest. My marriage became stronger because we stopped pretending honesty was optional. And I became someone I had never been allowed to become before. My own person. That is what happened after my father slapped me at my own wedding. He thought he was stopping a betrayal. Instead, he exposed one of the biggest conspiracies my family had ever faced. And the man beside me didn't save me by fighting everyone else. He helped me uncover the truth. Then he let me choose what to do with it. If this story reminded you that the truth can survive even years of lies, subscribe for more stories of family betrayal, hidden secrets, and second chances.